So our praise team uses in-ear monitors. If you haven't already, you can check out the video on this site that explains why we use those and how you might get the most out of the headphones themselves. But those headphones need to connect somewhere, and that's where our MEEs come in. Our MEE units on stage allow us to control what's actually coming through our in-ears, what we can hear, and maybe what we turn down and don't want to hear as loud. Each of our instrumentalists has their own ME, can control their own settings. We have vocalists on the front line who share a wireless ME, and so they can fight about what theirs sounds like. But there's a lot of questions on how you use that and how to adjust it and what all the buttons do. And so I made this video to hopefully take away some of that mystery and help you understand what your options are, maybe give you an idea of what you can do with those ME units so that you can be confident with these and excellent in your performance and your rehearsals as you take advantage of all that it offers to you. All right, so here we have our ME. This one is not hooked up to the soundboard, so the numbers would be replaced with instrument names here if that were plugged into the soundboard. But you have all of your different inputs. First thing to talk about is this local mic. The local mic here really feeds into this speaker here. It's something you're going to want to keep down, turn down all the way most of the time. If someone comes over and you've got ears in and you need to have a conversation, you can increase that and hear them through this microphone. Some people keep it up to try to get some of the ambient noise, but it really is going to just pick up what's closest to you. It won't pick up a whole lot of audience noise. So that's the local mic, and usually you're going to keep that down and leave that alone. Here is your master level on this side. Usually keep that about halfway up, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. But the master level controls the level of everything coming through the ME. You want to keep that about the midpoint so that you can either turn that down or up. So as you're going through and selecting your source, so let's say 1 instead of 1 there says keys. You have 2 options. You have pan and the level here. To control the pan, you push in this button here, and you can move that to the left or to the right. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll leave our bass guitar and our drums up the middle. The lower frequencies are usually heard better up the middle in the mix. But vocalist, you might turn a vocalist to the left and turn another one to the right. Now you have to push in to get that pan to move. Keys, you might pan keys to one side or the other, and the electric guitar opposite that. I usually keep the click and the guide and the supplementals all up the middle because they're doing a lot of different things. If you don't push it in, you're controlling the level of that one source, the volume of that one source. So if you want to turn your keys up, you're on the keys, you can do that. Or you can change to the next one and turn that up as well. Now, as sometimes you get to a point where just everything is just too loud. You've been turning stuff up and you can't hear, then you turn something else up. A quick way to turn everything down so that you can get everything back to where you want it to be is you hold the shift button. That's the shift button. The shift button, you hold that down, and then you turn the volume down. What this does is it turns down all your volumes. So let's say we're going to start with 1 there, 2 there, and 3 there. If I select 2, really any source on here, and I hold down shift and I turn down the volume, that's also going to turn down the volume for 1 and 3. So that way you can turn everything down and kind of just start over with what you're doing. All right. You can mute or solo a particular channel. So I don't use that a whole lot, but the keyboardists tell me that it's helpful to them sometimes. They'll maybe go on the electric guitar, solo that, see if they can hear what that guitar is doing, see if they're playing the same lead or if they're in each other's space. So they'll use that solo. You can mute something for same purposes to see if what you're hearing is coming through your ears or from the stage or from the congregation. Now your numbers, these are obviously all in sequential order, but when we're on stage, sometimes your numbers may not match the instruments that I have. For instance, I may have the bass guitar in one, and your one may be the drums. Sometimes that happens. So you can't say, well, where's the electric guitar? And someone say 5, and that's not always going to work for you. Yours may not be in 5. Sometimes you may not have an input that you need to have. So let's say for some reason you can't find Brian's vocal, and so you've looked all around and it's nowhere. You can actually add that usually by yourself. You do that by, again, the Shift key here, hold down Shift, and press Group. You come to a menu here. You select Key Setup. You press the key that you want that instrument put into. You press down on the trim button to get to this screen, and you scroll, and whatever input you want to put in, it will store there. So now that is 8. So if you didn't have Brian's vocal, you can add that into a channel. Again, you hold down Shift, press Group, you go down to Key Setup, and press the trim button. That's kind of your menu button. You press the key that you want to add that instrument to. This screen comes up. You press the button, and then you select which source you want to put in that particular button. And then when you're done, you can just hit Group to get out of that. All right? If you hit this master button, it brings up an EQ. If you know about EQs, you can play with this a little bit. You can select low, mid, or high ranges to adjust. When you select the range you want to adjust, just press the button. You can then move that curve up and down. If you don't know anything about EQs, you can leave this alone, but it's something that sometimes helps. If I'm playing bass guitar, sometimes I'll hike up the low just so that I can hear more of that low frequency. You also have a limiter over here, and you can, what the limiter does is keep a ceiling on the volume that you're going to have. So if you're setting this limiter, you're going to want to set it so that it's just catching the higher peaks that you'll see over here on this side. Again, this is optional. It's not something that I normally mess with, but just to let you know that it's there. And you get there by hitting the master button, and this is your selector button here. All right. So hopefully those instructions will help you now kind of know where to start in trying to get the proper mix in through your headphones. Remember that your in-ear mix is not ever going to sound as good as what the congregation is going to hear. It's just not designed to. It's designed to help you hear what you need to hear. There's another video that I'm posting on our PG YouTube channel in other videos where a guy takes a recording of his in-ear mix and compares that to what the house is hearing. If you check that out, I think you'll get a sense of the difference between the two and maybe what you're shooting for. But your in-ears are designed to allow you to hear what you need to hear so that our band and our vocalists can be together and be as excellent as we can as we try to communicate God's truth to the congregation. So if you have any questions about the Me when we're on stage, just don't hesitate to ask. You can find other information online about it. But as you get more experience and use it more, I think that you'll enjoy it more and more as you go.